Hi, Nin. How are you? It's Alicia.
Hey Alicia, how are you?
Good, good. Just made you host, okay? If you wanna, okay, it's recording already. Perfect.
Perfect. Thank you.
You're welcome.
All right, guys, we're gonna give some time for everybody to get in here, so I'm gonna wait till about 11:50, 50-ish around there, and then we'll get started. Good morning, everyone. Give me like 2 more minutes and we shall start.
Morning, Chris.
Good morning. Oh my God, I even got Edgar here.
Can you hear me?
Yeah, I hear you.
Okay, awesome.
Okay, I'm just gonna mute everybody real quick. We're gonna start in about 1 minute. All right, we're gonna start. Good morning, everyone. Thank you for joining. Today's class is gonna be on cold calling. I don't really consider it cold calling. I take a different approach, which I'll explain. But it's just better just to give you guys a different avenue on how to generate business in today's market. Just to give you a little bit of background on me. My name is Christopher Nin. I'm the branch manager here at the West Gables office. I've been with Lifestyle about 5 years, been in real estate just a little bit over 6 years total. Had some quite success, do this full time. Before that, I was in the corporate world. And the reason why I'm hosting this training is just because my bulk of my business has been from being on the phones. You know, there's plenty of other ways of generating business, social media, circle of influence. I can go on and on. But my biggest tool to me has been my phone. Getting on the phone, making calls, building relationships through calls, and then converting those calls into transactions. So there's different ways of going about this. I'm sure a lot of you have either Googled, YouTube, cold calling. There's plenty of courses out there. Everybody has their different approach on cold calling. I always tell people it's always good to hear every different type of cold calling training, just because you can always pick up different strategies and different tips from different people. But obviously, at the end of the day, everybody's going to be different. What works for me might not work for you, and so on and so forth. And like I said, I have different strategies of how I call clients. Some people, you know, just get a bunch of numbers, start calling and just have a general script. I don't like doing that, just because I don't know about everybody, you, but I'm the type of person that when I get called and it's someone trying to sell me something, especially if it's something I have not inquired about, I'm quick to just hang up the phone, block your number, leave me alone. I don't care if you're the best in the world. So I always like to come up with different ways of at least how I would like to be pitched. So with that being said, we're going to jump in it. First of all, anybody got any questions? Has anybody done any cold calling here before? If you want, you can either unmute yourself or just type in the chat. Laura, and how's that been? Laura, if you want, unmute yourself real quick.
Hey, so I just literally started with a cold calling. I've been doing mostly neighborhood searches for the
Okay,
most part. So I'm trying to get more into FISBOs at this moment. Neighborhood searches has been going good. I mean, it's a lot of conversation for the most part. You're really trying to just connect with these people and trying to build some sort of relationship with them to see if in the future they're interested in selling their property. I end up getting more emails from them and I just like put them into like my CRM and try to follow up with them and stuff like that. But I just literally started out with it. So
nice. And how so far, as far as when it comes to the neighborhood searches, like what is like basically your line, your pitch to start that conversation?
So what I've been doing is I just introduce myself. I let them know that I am a local real estate agent. And what I try to do is that I'm going based either a recent property that just sold in the area, or, you know, if there is a property that was just listed in their neighborhood, and just kind of like informing them of what is going on in the market, know if there's anything that, you know, maybe if they've considered selling their property, given the circumstances that it is a seller's market right now, and take advantage of the equity that they have in their home. Some people are receptive to it, and some people are like, yeah, okay, get my email, send me a CMA, let me know, you know, I'm interested in knowing kind of like what my property is worth. So I go from there. But yeah, I let them know. I basically call based on either a property that just sold in the area or a property that was just listed in the area.
Awesome, awesome, perfect. Any other type of have you tackled the FISBOs yet, or that's something you're going to be stepping into?
I'm going to be stepping into it. I have not tackled that at the moment. I'm trying to get a little bit more comfortable with the FISBOs. I haven't really stepped in that zone yet, but that's what I'm trying to aim to next.
Okay, great, awesome, awesome. Okay, thank you, Laura.
Thank you.
Hugging, sorry if I said your name wrong.
No, you're right.
Okay, perfect. So tell me a little bit about how the cold calls that you've been doing. What is it that you specialize in, a specific type? How do you go ahead and get that started?
Well, I got a list from an advertising company. Like they gave me a list for free, so I was just calling people. But because my phone number has a California area code, people don't really pick up. So
Got it. Have you thought about getting a Google Voice number?
no, not yet. I'm gonna do it now, like soon.
Awesome, awesome. All right, so I'll cover all that stuff. And as far as those calls, like, what has been like? What's your opening pitch? What's like your line that you're saying to them to start that conversation?
I'm not that lucky, I would say. Usually like when I call, I say, hey, I'm just wondering, I'm a local realtor and I'm just wondering if there's anything I can do for you. And they'd be like, oh, where am I gonna go? You know, something like that.
Of course, of course, of course. Awesome. All right, cool. Thank you so much. I'll go ahead. Anybody else has done some cold calling? Can't be the only two people that have done cold calling, or at least attempted it. I know, listen, cold calling is scary. I know a lot of you listen. Go ahead.
I cold call.
All right, so then and what is your attack with cold calls? Expires or sale by owners?
For sale by owners and expireds.
Okay, and then what is your opening pitch with them? Like, how do you start the conversation off?
Usually if it's a for sale by owner, I just kind of tell them I'm calling about their home. I ask them if that's the person I'm calling. So let's say, you know, it's Robert, just to say a name. So I'll tell them I'm calling about the home for sale. Is this Robert? If they say yes, I tell them I'm a local real estate agent, that I noticed that they had their house for sale and it looks like they're selling it by owner. And then they usually tell me yes, that they're willing to pay a commission, or that they're, not working with an agent, they're not looking to list. And I just kind of let them know that I'm giving them a call, because I do work with a lot of buyers and sellers in that particular area. And I would just ask them how it's going to kind of make them feel like I'm not trying to pressure them into anything. And then I just go right to it, and I ask them if saving the commission is the main reason why they decided to list it on their own instead of using an agent. And usually they'll say yes or no. And then I'll just let them know that, there's a way for them to make more money by working with me if they're willing to sit down with me for, 20 minutes just to discuss their options.
Awesome. And let me ask you, Sylvia, as far as, for example, obviously, for the most part, everybody knows when you go for sale by owner, it's always because they're trying to nickel and dime the commission. What is your attack? Like you say, obviously you tell them, listen, I can show you a way, but if they tell you, all right, but like, if they were to ask you right there on the phone, yeah, but like, I don't, how would I be saving money, or how would I make more money? Like what is a seller's market? I can't just sell it myself. What is like your rebuttal to that?
I try to never make them wrong. So I tell them there's no doubt that they can sell it on their own. That all I need is 20 minutes to show them a better way to get it done. And if they're willing to sit down with me, I'll be able to show them how I can be an investment and not an expense, even after paying a commission. I usually try to make them as right as possible. Like, listen, I know the math doesn't make sense to you right now. All I need is 20 minutes to sit down with you and show you how we can get this done. I try to make them sound like they're super smart. I tell them, you're a smart person. You sound like a really smart person. So if this doesn't make sense, I know we're not going to move forward. But I would, I usually don't use but because it's a negative word, but I'm using it now because I'm speaking to you.
Yeah, no worries. Gotcha.
Yeah. So I usually just try to make them understand, like, listen, you're not going to be under any obligation. If this doesn't make sense, you're in your absolute right to move forward, and just not sign anything. It's only 20 minutes. It's not a huge time commitment. So I try to push for that appointment as much as I can. I try to close consistently.
Nice. Awesome. Sounds good. Thank you, Laura, for answering that. Yeah, you can look them up on Zillow for sale by owner. I believe you can also look them up Craigslist, or sometimes there for sale by owners. But for the most part, just go on Zillow. You can search the criteria too, just for sale by owners, and it'll show you the people that have put their property up on Zillow. All right, so a lot of good stuff. Like I said, there's multiple ways of attacking everything. Everything is the right way. The most important thing is being consistent and doing it. I'm gonna be honest with you right now. If I'm going to tell you a couple things right now, and if you're not willing to do these things, if you want to just exit this training right now, because cold calling is not for you. One, you got to be willing to make the calls, and I'm not talking about call 30 minutes, make like 6 calls. No, you got to be literally making, I want to say, if I'm not mistaken, you got to talk to at least 50 people in one day to consider that good. So I would say making about anywhere between 100 and 200 calls a day. And the best way to do this is, guys, sit down, block off an hour, 2 hours of your time, and then just get on the phone, get your list of contacts, and call. And don't let nobody interrupt. Don't get on your phone. Don't look at social media. Just make these calls, because if you make only 10 calls, 15 calls, or you make 1 call and someone tells you about the twins going to make 80 calls today. I like that. Okay, say less. If you make only 10, 15 calls and you think you made enough calls, you might get 1 listing, you might get 1 result. Hey, listen, I've had agents that come in here to the office with me and start making cold calls, and their first call, they potentially get a listing appointment. They get super happy, and they don't make no calls for the rest of the day. If maybe they get that listing appointment, they go on that listing appointment, and then they don't go ahead, and the listing never turns into nothing. It just turns into a nurture. But guess what? It's because you stopped at that 1 phone call. So this is something that's definitely a numbers game. That's number 1. You got to be willing to put in the time as far as make the calls. Number 2, you got to be willing to chase people. Yes, as simple as annoying as it may sound, you have to chase these people in the sense of follow-up. Give you an example. I spoke with a client once. I don't know exactly when it was, but let's just say it was January. I called them again to do the follow-up calls to get finally face-to-face with them. It took me a year to get that second phone call with them. And yes, and then and a year later, I locked them in. They said, yes, I did. Always saved my number. And well, let me make sure I'm all right. They saved my number. They told me, listen, I see you've been calling me this entire time. I just was going through the stuff, but I'm ready to sell now. So you got to be willing to follow up. I always tell people that what you need to do is create a strategy. You know, a strategy in the sense of you always want to make sure that this person is reminded of you. You're always in this person's face, because especially if they tell you, that person that tells you, hey, yes, it is, I'm interested in selling, but not right now, maybe in a few months, whatever, they're going to sell eventually. And it's going to be, and they're going to sell to someone that when it's the time comes to sell is on them. So you got to make sure you create a strategy. One of the things I like to do is I have my list of calls. I'll make my calls. The people that I speak with on the phone, I already have a template of a mailer of myself, whether it's, I'd rather not have to carry two phones. I like to have companies send messages. Let me know if anybody has any ideas. Sorry, I'm just reading these chats. Let me just lower this so I can stick to the plan. So what I mean by strategy is I'll make that initial phone call, depending on whether it was just a phone call of, hey, listen, yeah, thank you for your time. Yeah, I'm interested, or you know, we might be going down. Save my number, follow up on me. I'll have a template right after I hang up the phone with them. I'm gonna send them a text message with something I already have written. Thank you for taking my call today. Once again, my name is Christopher Nin. I work with Lifestyle International Realty. It was a pleasure. I'll look forward to helping you out with any needs in real estate. Please save my number. I'll follow up with you soon. Looking forward to working with you, and I'll send them. I might even put in my Zillow profile, a website, or if you have a website of yourself, put it in there so they can click on something to see your face. And I'll even throw in there a little electronic digital business card of myself so they can have it. Right after that, I would say about 2-3 days later, or maybe that same day, just to prepare, because either way it's going to take a couple of days. I have a template of a mailer that I have, something small. You don't have to do anything crazy with your picture. And once again, it reiterates again, thank you for taking my call today. Looking forward to speaking with you. Once again, the market is hot. Maybe throw in something pitching there, but it's just a general thing, just to touch base. So now you're sending them a letter to them for them to receive. And once again, it's another reminder to them. Then I would automatically set up another time to call them. I'll go ahead, I'll call them. And which dialer systems would you suggest for making calls? I'm gonna get into systems and all that stuff, guys, as we go down. So if you want, just any questions you got, throw them in the chat, and then I'll start answering them as we get along, once we get towards the end. So once I send that mail, like I said, I'll go ahead and maybe a week or a week and a half from there, or not even that, maybe a week from there, I'll send them an email. Just make sure whenever you make that initial call, you want to make sure you get all their information, email, phone, their phone number, obviously you have it, their full name, the address of the property. So I'll send them an email. Then maybe a week after that, I'll do another follow-up call. Then maybe a week after that, I'll schedule a door knock where I'm dropping them off, you know, a flyer or a market analysis of the neighborhood. Once again, this is all to keep on making contact with this person. They already told you, they opened the door for you. Don't think, oh my God, no, this person hasn't told me nothing, this and that. I feel like I'm bugging them, or I feel like I'm harassing. No, they already opened that door for you by telling you, hey, listen, I'm interested in selling, but not right now. So that's already you telling them, hey, listen, you just got to stay in contact with me, whatever way. You got to stand out from what other realtors reaching out to me. So those are things that are going to help you stand out. So you create this timeline. I would tell you, try to create maybe like a 6-month timeline. After 6 months, maybe, you know, you put them on a drip where it's emails, maybe a mailer here and there, and phone calls. But for 6 months, you want to create a consistent timeline with them in the sense of phone calls, mailers, emails, and possible door knocking, where you're dropping them off some information at their property. And that's that. So and then also when it comes to those phone calls, maybe you make a phone call where you get that appointment, which it does happen. You know, I would definitely go ahead, schedule that appointment right away, go see them, take my listing appointment, present them the whole works. Right after I have that meeting with them, I have another mailer for them stating, hey, thank you for taking time of inviting me over to your house. Looking forward to meeting, working with you, blah, 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 so on and so forth. But the idea is, guys, create a system in place where you're always touching base with this person or reminding them, hey, listen, when you want to sell, I am the person that you want to sell with. So you always want to, that's definitely something that's going to make you stand out, because everybody here, a lot of agents cold call. A lot of agents call people, they're getting calls, hey, listen, the market's hot, they've heard the pitch, they hold everything. What makes it stand out is that agent that, oh man, oh wow, oh wait, this is Chris, I spoke with him last week, oh nice, okay, cool. Then a week from there, I get a door, they get a door knock on their door, I open it and it's myself, oh my God, oh hey Chris, nice to meet you, oh thank you for coming to our, listen, here's, it doesn't hurt because you're going to give them some type of information. Like I said, you're going to drop them off with a market analysis. Worst case scenario is they tell you, hey, thank you for the thing. Okay, cool. Have a nice day. And that's it. You leave. Best case scenario is, hey, listen, well, so you're here. Might as well just come inside and check out the house, and you can talk to them and build more rapport in person. So that's what I always recommend. That's tip number one. Create a strategy for these calls. It's not just about calling. It's about your follow-up game and what's going to make you stand out, such as sending mailers, emails, showing up to their house with some information, and so forth. Now, let's go into the different types of cold calls, what I like to consider warm calls. So I'm a big believer in, so you were talking about that systems to make calls. There's a system called RedX. I know it can pull different type of leads. It can pull expired for sale by owners. I specifically use this for geo leads. What are geo leads? Geo leads are basically you plug in an address or a zip code, and you submit and you request the 500 closest owner numbers to that address, and it's going to give you. Now you are going to come across a lot of numbers that are disconnected stuff, but it's like I said, it's a numbers game. So you're going to call a certain area, whether it's a zip code, whether it's an actual address of a property, and I believe you can get a little bit more specific in criteria when you're trying to break it down, such as, you know, only single families or only condos. Now what I do with this is, for myself, obviously I've sold properties recently, but let's say you're a rookie agent, you've never sold no property. You have access to Lifestyles listings. If I were you, I would go ahead and look up for a recent sale, or how Laura does, even a just listed, and I'll use the Lifestyle listing and use that as leverage to call them and let them know, hey, listen, Steven, how are you doing? My name's Chris. The reason why I'm calling you is because we just, my company and our associates, we just recently finished closing on a property in your area. You know, we just sold at a high of $400,000, you know, and it was a 2-2 townhouse. You know, I know that's if not, it's pretty close to record-breaking sale in your area. We're just reaching out to the neighborhood to see if by any chance anybody's interested in potentially selling. The thought has crossed your mind, or if you're interested to see, you know, what your house is worth, you know, now that sales have gone up. You know, obviously the market has changed in the last 3 years. And you'll be quite surprised of how much you can get for your property now. So if just giving a call to everybody just to see if you're interested in some information. Like I said, worst comes to worst, no, I'm not. Or you have that one person, hey, listen, you know what, I actually thought was interested in selling. Or they might just tell you, hey, listen, you know what, I am interested in a market analysis. And right then and there, you can start asking them questions and potentially build them into a potential lead or a nurturer or how. So that's what I do as far as GeoD. And like I said, it doesn't have to be sales. It could be, you know, something that just got listed. Hey, listen, we're just giving you a call because we just finished listing up. And like I said, you're not saying you're saying we. Even though it's not your listing, it's part of the brokerage's listing. So you can technically claim it as not your listing, but our listing. Is for sale. It's for sale in your neighborhood. So you use that leverage to open up the door and make it seem like you're giving a reason to call. You're not just calling randomly. Hey, listen, I'm calling you to see if you need any real estate services. You know, even if they need it at that moment, you probably caught them at some time that they're just like, hey, listen, I don't want to talk to nobody. I don't care. I've never requested nothing. Now you're telling them, hey, listen, you live in 12345 Southwest 748. Yes, I do. Hey, listen, I'm just giving you a call. I'm a local realtor. Just wanted to we're calling the neighborhood because we just finished listing up a property in the neighborhood. for $450,000 in case you have any family members or neighbors or any friends that are looking to move in the area. You don't just have to farm for sellers. You can farm for a potential buyer. Maybe they have a friend or a relative that is in the process of getting pre-approved or something, and they're interested in moving in the area. Right then and there, you can connect and pick up a potential buyer. So I call that warm calling. You're gonna look for a reason to call these people. You know, at the end of the day, worst comes to worst, you say, hey, listen, I'm not interested. Okay, listen, have a great day. But it at least strikes interest to somebody because you're relating to them. You're already starting with a reason why they should be speaking with you. Let me see, as far as geo leads. I would say the biggest thing for geo leads, guys, if you have listings, and for example, one of the biggest things I like to do with geo leads is if I ever have a record-breaking sale, that's how think how that conversation goes. Hey, listen, I'm giving you a call because I just broke the record as the highest sale ever in your neighborhood. We just sold at a high of $500,000, and the highest sale prior to that was $450,000. You just gained about $50,000 in equity in your property, and we're just calling everybody to let them know in case they're interested in capitalizing on this equity that has just been added to your neighborhood. So those are types of tricks of like light bulbs that should strike your head. Whenever you see a record-breaking sale, boom, you should already be like, hey, listen, I want to call the neighborhood to let everybody know that, wow, you know, your average price has just gone up significantly. So if you ever thought about selling, you know, I think now might be the time. Trying to think as far as geo leads before I move on to the next. And once again, guys, that's RedX, what I use. There are other programs that give you geo leads. So I'm not saying that's the best one. That's just the one that I specifically used. Some bad things about it. It takes forever to load. It's super slow, so you have to have patience with it. But it's one of the ones that gives you geo leads. Trying to think what else as far as the geo leads before. Any questions so far as far as geo leads or the pitch that I've given? Feel free to unmute yourself. And then once again, going off these geo leads, guys, you can use this. You know, a lot of people say, listen, door knocking is good. This is good. Like I said, everything is good. And what's even better is when you create a strategy and you implement all these tools. So if you have a espresso agent, well, there you go. That's a new one. I'm sure that's good as well. When you have these strategies in place, when you make these phone calls, you're doing you're making your 200 calls, and out of those 200 calls, let's say 5 people, were actually interested or showed some interest. Oh, that's interesting, great. You already know those 5 people. You got to create. I would create a little mailer ad for them. Send them a direct mail to them. Hey, thank you for taking my call. Once again, here are the last 5 sales in your neighborhood or whatever. Boom, 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 boom. In case you're interested, here's my number. Contact me. And then I will schedule some time the following week to actually knock on those people's doors. How do you keep track of the calls for follow-up? So there's different. I would say get yourself a good CRM. Me, before I had a CRM, I was old school. I had an Excel sheet. Let me see if I can show you guys an Excel sheet. I'm gonna go ahead and share my screen real quick. I'm gonna show. This is just for you guys that don't have time to invest into a CRM, don't have money to be investing in a CRM. But if you have time to invest money into a CRM, I definitely recommend Follow Up Boss. It's the one I use. But if not, you can definitely go ahead and create. All right, let me go ahead real quick. Okay, so for example, let's go down. Give me a second, this is loading. Okay, so let me move this one. For example, 2021 leads. So let me hide this. And let me move this down here. Okay, so simple stuff I would put here is I would put the name of the lead, the source, what it was, what type of client it was, the email, the phone number, the last time I spoke with them, the last time I attempted to call them, if they told me to follow up, and notes. So this is a simple kind of follow-up system you can do until you have a CRM. Last time I spoke with them, If I call after that time I spoke with them, if I call them, let's say the day after, they don't answer, then I'm going to put here the day I tried calling them. And then when I get in contact with that person again, then I'll just go ahead, erase this and put here the last contact here. And then if they told me, hey, listen, follow up with me in a week or something, I'll put it here. It's not as good as an actual CRM, because there's CRMs out there that actually remind you. Sometimes, you know, especially once you have, there's a point that I had like 200 of these contacts here and following up with them. Once it gets to that point, it's a bit hard because sometimes, you know, you lose track, especially how busy we are. But for the most part, you know, until you have the funds to get a CRM, this is something simple that you can do. Go ahead and stop sharing. Okay, so that's that. Anything else? Any questions so far?
Lynn, let me ask you, for the postcards that you send afterwards, are those like handwritten postcards that you make, or that you do them through like a marketing company after you speak to them and they show interest in potentially selling the property or meeting you?
Okay, so me personally, great question. I would recommend guys do any of them. I would even do a mixture of both. I don't have an actual company I do. I actually have my team. We've actually created like templates on Canva. So we go ahead and we create those templates and we just print them out here on the printer. Since I'm not printing out, you know, big bulks at a time, and I'm not doing like an actual EDDM, I just have templates saved on my computer. And once I generate this one new lead or whatever, I'll go ahead and I'll print it out. But I would recommend everybody, like I say, create a custom strategy. Maybe your first initial letter that you send to them is a professional one typed up through Canva with your picture. Then maybe the second one you send to them is one that's like handwritten and so on and so forth. So I would tell you guys, just, you know, create your own strategy. The idea is just to have a strategy and a process in place for the follow-up, because the follow-up is the most important thing. I want to say out of 10 leads, 9 of them, you're going to get them by following up. Maybe you get one of them on that one initial shot that you go and they're like, hey, listen, you know what? Okay, I'm ready. Let's do it. But almost every single person you speak with on a phone, you're gonna have to have a follow-up game for them to convert them. So you want to make sure that, you know, get creative with it. You know, don't just think you know what, let me get a company, because guess what? I'm sure there's hundreds of realtors out there that do the same thing just because they're lazy. They don't have the time to customize things. If you have the time, if you can take, you know, schedule 30 days out of, get a month that you're not that busy, schedule time out of that month to dedicate time to create this type of process for you. You know, make like 6, 7, 8, 9 different mailers, you know, some handwritten, some professional, and then create, you know, different types of market analysis templates where stuff you can just print out real quickly, so you can go take some stuff with you to go door knocking when you go to show up to the property. But take the time to create it, so then moving forward, it's just something as simple as plug and print or plug and play. Okay, so that's GeoLeads. Now I'm going to move on from GeoLeads. I'm going to move on to for sale by owners. So for sale by owners, obviously, it can be tricky. Obviously, because you have people that are, the main thing is that they want to sell without having to pay. Now, I believe it was Sylvia, if I'm not mistaken, that she, you know, it sounded like she had a really good pitch on what she's saying. One of the biggest things I tell you guys, when you're speaking to for sale by owners, a lot of you guys, I'm sure, are looking at Tom Ferry scripts, looking at all these YouTube, and that's great and all. I'm not telling you it does not work. I'm a big believer that a lot of those cold calling trainings that have been done for sale by owners, whatever, when you see them on YouTube, they're in different states. And I always tell people Miami's a different monster. You know, you don't have that person from Westchester that has 10 different cousins that are realtors too. It's a lot more difficult. I definitely pick a couple things of what I hear in these trainings that I'm like, oh, listen, you know what, that sounds pretty cool. I'll turn it in my own way. But for the most part, a lot of people can smell out stuff that's very ungenuine. I say when you get these scripts and you customize it to your own, instead of just reading from a script, you make it your own script. Maybe just pick up one line from that script and then kind of reword it to where it's more natural for you. you will have a lot better conversion rate. To give you an example, there was an agent not too long ago that we were hosting like a cold call training kind of like boot camp that we were doing. And what we were doing, there was two types of cold calling we were first doing. We were doing, I think he had scrapped out some numbers from the internet, and he was calling, kind of doing a script of like, hey, listen, John, I'm calling because, I'm just wondering to see if you're the owner, if you thought about taking advantage of the equity of your home, something like that. You can tell it was scripted. And then he when he switched it over to for sale by owners, that's for the most part his forte, you can just see night and day of how smoother the conversation went, because it was natural. It wasn't something that he was doing, he was going off a script. It was literally just him talking with the person, him having a conversation, building rapport, and just, going off of experience, and just the when he was giving his answering rebuttals, it flowed a lot more natural, because it was something that he already had his own way of speaking to this people. He wasn't going off a script, and it was so much successful. I believe his first call with the for sale by owner, he got a listing appointment, because it was so natural compared to when he was just calling these completely random numbers with this script. So I always tell everybody, definitely create, like, work on getting your own script, and work on creating your own type of rebuttal, answering rebuttals, because it's a lot more successful than you going off a script that you pick up off the internet or one of these top producers from another state or something. Because like I said, it's more natural, and it can be smelled from a mile away when it comes natural. And you got to think about it. You have no idea. I've been sitting down with the people that own property, and they get calls from realtors, whether it's an expired property or something, and they get these calls, and it's the same script over and over again. So you think that you're doing your best. One of the things I hate is, hey, listen, well, let me tell you something. I know you're selling for sale by owner, but what if I tell you that I can net you more money and still add my commission on top? I feel like that's the number one line that I feel like it's like, I don't know, like it's a requirement. They teach you in Gold Coast that or something, because I've heard that millions of times, and it's boring. Everybody's heard that. So, you don't stand out from a realtor. So I always tell everybody, definitely come up with your own script, make it natural. A big thing that it happens to a lot of us, it definitely happened to me when I was first starting off with these cold calls. Learn to slow down, because sometimes you think when you're on the phone with these people that you think they're going to cut you off, or you think they're going to hang up on you, so you're trying to speak very quickly. No, take a deep breath, relax, conversate, and then before you giving your pitch or like coming up with different rebuttals, listen to what the person's telling you and answer based on what they're telling you. Don't just, one of the biggest things I've had agents of mine when they're on the phone with somebody, they were once doing a call with a seller. The seller at first was hesitant, but then started opening up, and they were like giving some good feedback, but they were like basically saying, oh no, this, or like, look, I can't, his biggest rebuttal was, listen, if I sell, where do I go? I don't know, there's nothing on the market. And instead of her, acknowledging that and focusing her rebuttals back on that, she just was like, oh yeah, but like, we have tons of buyers, this and that, we can get you top dollar. And it's like, no, don't do that. Like, listen to what the lead, the seller, the prospect is telling you, and go off of that, because it's more natural. They build more rapport with you, and they feel like you're actually understanding them, and they don't feel so pushed as to, oh my God, this person's just trying to sell my house. So for sale by owners, going back to that, I was just giving you guys some tips, is biggest thing is obviously they're trying to save money. Now, my biggest thing is when I ask it for sale by owner, I don't like doing the whole, hey, no, but listen, I got a buyer for you, let me just go see the house. I don't like that whole line thing. Certain situations I've done it on the sense of just to kind of get a quick foot in the door to build a relationship with this person. Maybe it's a developer or something like that. Maybe because he's very not receptive to me. So I need to figure out a way to break in to get that face-to-face. I might do it. But for the most part, I stick away from that, just because everybody and their mother is going to tell them, yeah, I got a buyer. Let me just come see the house. Let me come see the house. I just need to preview the house first before I show it to my buyer. there have been times where for sale by owners that I do tell them that, but it's because I really do have a buyer. And that's the greatest thing. If you do have a buyer, then I would go with that approach. Hey, listen, you know what? I understand you're trying to save. Are you at least willing to pay a buyer's commission? Hey, listen, not a problem. I actually got a buyer. Do you mind if I take him to your house or whatever? And then you go from there. But like going back to the for sale by owner, the biggest thing is obviously they're trying to save money. My biggest comeback with a seller is like, listen, I'm just gonna try to sell my own. Just not be like, listen, okay, that's great. I understand you're trying to save money for it, but let me tell you something. I'm not sure if people tell you this, but what specific reason other than commissions are you holding back from selling with an agent? Oh no, is it just strictly commission, or are there other reasons why? Because you want to get it. Maybe this actual seller is an actual realtor himself, and he's just trying to avoid putting it on the MLS. And if that's the case, then I'll just go ahead and I'll just be like, it's not a problem. I'll go ahead. If I do have a buyer, I'll bring it your way. But if it's strictly commission, my biggest rebuttal back to them is, let me ask you something. I get what you're trying to do. You're trying to save money, but in my opinion, and especially in today's market, it's such a seller's market that you're doing yourself a disservice by listing it for sale by owner. And what do I mean by a disservice? Yes, you're asking $450 for it, sir. But what if you can get $485, $490? And I'm not here, just giving you numbers just to give it to you. Maybe you do maybe your house is worth $450. And yeah, maybe you do get a contract for $450. But in today's market, why have one contract when you can have potentially 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10 contracts? And that way you have leverage on that buyer to make sure that they don't go ahead and try to negotiate any credits or anything on you, and you're not wasting your time with a buyer that's not going to come at that price. Why don't you go ahead and let's try to get you as many offers as possible, so you can go with that secure buyer that you're going to net XYZ amount. And you're only going to get that by allowing an agent like myself to go ahead and market this and put it out there and give it the most exposure it needs for you to get tons of traction, instead of you getting just agents that are calling you to get your listing from Zillow, because that's what you're going to get. Just that one or a couple buyers that are going to be searching through Zillow, or the people that drive by your house because you have a for sale by owner sign outside. You're really doing yourself a disservice. You're leaving thousands of dollars on the table, and maybe you're not leaving thousands of dollars on the table because what you're asking is already top price, but you're leaving room to potentially lose out on money because of the loss of leverage you're going to have by not having that that 5, 6, 7 offers on the table. You're missing out on that potential buyer from New York. You're missing out on that potential buyer from that foreign buyer from Chile that's relocating over here because things are going crazy over there with their country, by not allowing. You throw that wrench into them, and then I tell them, listen, let me just tell you this. I specialize in this. I do this for a living. I'm 24/7. I'll send you my email. Let's do this. Let me allow me 15 minutes of your time to come over to your house and explain to you and show you in person, my strategy, my plan. And at the end of the day, listen, I understand you're trying to save on commissions, but my commissions are negotiable. Depending on what it's going to take me to sell your house, I am completely flexible with my commission. I'm not going to do it for free. I'll be completely honest with you, but I am able to negotiate, and I'm sure that we can come up to some middle ground where it's going to be fair enough for you and fair enough for me to go ahead and work together. And like I said, at the end of the day, you don't lose nothing. You're getting a professional opinion, a professional evaluation. And at the end of the day, after those 15, 20 minutes, if it doesn't work out for you, hey, listen, we shake hands, and I wish you the best of luck. It's with no strings attached. It is completely up to you whether you want to move forward or not. You lose nothing by allowing me to come over, explain to you what I do, show you my strategy, and seeing if we can work together. And then that's how I would attack a for sale by owner. And I see we have here, if I'm not mistaken, one of the kings of for sale by owner. Did he leave? Oh, he was in here for a moment. But yeah, that's my pitch, how I would go ahead with for sale by owners. Like I said, the biggest keywords you want to use is, hey, listen, no strings attached. It doesn't hurt for you to get a professional opinion, professional evaluation to show you, what you're potentially missing out on. Other things you can throw in there. are things such as, hey, listen, have you ever read a contract? Do you know all the possible contingencies that are in a contract? Do you know how to read a DU if your client is financing? A lot of people, I come across sellers that they tell me, oh, but all I want is a cash offer. I'm like, is there a specific reason why you want a cash offer only? Is there something wrong with the house that it's not financeable? Is there something wrong with title that it has to be cash only? Oh no, I just want a cash offer because I don't want to be dealing with this and that, this and that, and it's quicker. I'm like, listen, sir, to be honest with you, cash offers are great, they're amazing, but in my experience, you are missing out. You're going to be missing out on a lot of money on someone that's potentially financing, because cash is capped at XYZ amount. Someone financing has probably a big chunk of cash that they can go ahead. They're going to reach the value of your property because there's going to be an appraisal done. But then the idea is for us to get the gap guaranteed by the buyer by putting money over the appraisal. And for the most part, you're going to get a better offer for the most part with that financing offer. It's not to say that there's not cash offers out there that are even better than financing offers, but I wouldn't close my mind off to a financing offer. And like I said, by you giving that education, a lot of these sellers are not too educated when it comes to that. By you giving that education to them, you're opening up their mind, and now they're thinking, man, this person really knows what they're doing. You know what? Okay, come over to my house, let's talk, and go from there. But the biggest thing, like I said, guys, is sound natural. Listen to what they're telling you and then go off of that. You are going to come across that seller that is no, leave me alone. You are going to come across that seller that's, hey, listen, I have a cousin of mine that if I'm listing myself, but if I don't list up, I'm going to list with her. Or you have that seller, hey, listen, I have my license myself. So you are going to come across clients that you can have the best pitch in the world, that they're just not going to list with you or give you the time of the day. But it's all a numbers game. You just got to keep on it. And like I said, the more natural you sound and the more reassuring you are, and the key words, like I say, no strings attached, to at least get this meeting. Keywords such as my commission is flexible, and unfortunately, guys, I love to get commissions listings at 6%. I do get them sometimes, but unfortunately in this world, and especially in today's market, and especially how Miami is, that you have realtors that are willing to bend over backwards and almost do stuff for free nowadays, you do have to go ahead and be negotiable on your commissions. Don't do it for free. Always do it for a good amount. Try to always fight for your commission, but you sometimes you do have to bend over backwards and come up with different ways. One of the biggest things I like to do is, for example, I'll tell them, listen, typical commission is 6%. I'll be willing to do it for a total of 5%. But in the event I find my own buyer without representation, I'll only charge you 3%, just to give them that extra hook in there. But there's definitely different ways to go about it. I can go on a days, but it's just about you guys coming up with your own type of pitch, making it seem natural, getting these keywords that I just told you about, and trying to get that face-to-face with them. Any questions so far as for sale by owners?
I also like to incorporate NARS statistics, because a lot of them aren't aware that they sell for 18% less than agent assisted sales, and they're only, exposing their property to 7% of buyers being a for sale by owner, as opposed to 100% of the buyer pool, which is something I like to give them.
100%. So yeah, actually, totally. I was gonna add that. I just totally forgot about that. I had a little blank moment. But definitely, guys, I would even throw numbers such as, hey, listen, did you know that about 90 to 93% of buyers are buying with an agent? Just because they're first-time home buyers or even second-time home buyers, but they're not experts in the field. They don't know how to read contracts, so they want the assistance of a buyer's agent to help them out with the process. So you want to make sure that you have an agent also representing to you. So once again, like I said, the contract is very, very, it's long. There's a lot of wording in there, and you want to make sure that you as a seller are covered and are not wasting your time. Even if the buyer's coming with the buyer's agent, you want to make sure that the least amount of contingencies are, that they're not pretty much putting so much contingencies that you're at their mercy until the day of closing. And then when the day of closing comes, you're going to inquire fees yourself. You might have to, whether you're moving up north, you might have already rented out something over there. You might have put your stuff in a truck, and before you know it, before the day of closing comes, something happens and their financing contingency was stretched out till the day of closing. And now the day of closing comes, they get denied on their loan because we didn't verify the DU correctly. And now they cancel the contract. You can't even go after their escrow because they're within the contingency period. And now you are stuck, with paying a mover to move back your car, and you're starting from day one. So those are big things you can throw in there as well. I highly recommend, how Sylvia says, is getting stats like that. If you want, you can even have those stats written down on a form for you, just so you can have that as talking points when you're speaking with people. But the biggest thing is, make this as natural as possible. And also, like I say, listen to the seller, listen to what he's telling you, listen to the rebuttals he's telling you. And just because he tells you no, listen, no, I already have an offer, I'm going to do an open house on this Saturday, and I already have 2 or 3 offers, kind of like soothe it out. My biggest thing is, I would be like, listen, I understand you have 2 or 3 offers, and I get it 100%, but let's do this. Let me pass by your house before the open house, just to talk to you. And on top of that, what I'm willing to do for free to you? I'm willing to look over these offers for you and to tell you realistically if this is something solid, or if this is someone that's playing games, that's just putting too many contingencies. And in my personal opinion, it's something that it's way too risky for a seller to take. I'm willing to review that for you and let you know my personal opinion on these offers, and then we can go ahead and talk a little bit more about my strategy and all that stuff. Like I said, I'm not going with a contract. I'm not telling you have to pay me to go to your house. I'm not telling you that you have to sign a contract now. This is completely no strings attached. It's just for me to go ahead and give you some information that I can provide to you and show you what I can do for you. And like I say, worst comes to worst, we shake hands. You go your way and I go my way. No love lost. Anybody else got any questions with that? Any suggestions? Anybody have any input on that? Anything maybe that I've missed that you guys can think of that you do? No? Okay.
I usually like to tell them there's always in it, if there's a significant advantage for them to just, review it, it's always good for them to feel like you're going to offer some sort of quality in your visit. It's not just, about the money. Ultimately, it's about how it's advantageous for them to just even look at what you have to offer, what you have to bring. So I always try to throw the when you like to know how I can benefit you financially, I use that a lot. And usually they'll sit down and think about it for like a second. And they're like, yeah, I guess, I'm a little curious on how. And I always use, I know the math doesn't make sense. And let's just sit down, just 20 minutes. No, no obligation, no strings attached, like you say. But it seems to work. The financial benefit of working with you, and definitely no strings attached are always the plus when you're making those calls.
Awesome. Great. Okay, now I'm gonna move on to another type of calling that I do. There's different platforms out there for potentially for seller leads. One of the ones that I use is called ZBuyer. There's other ones out there. I'm trying to think which ones. You can do Facebook market ads. You can do Google ads. I'm sure you guys Google bestseller lead generation. You can come up on different ones. So my biggest one with those is I get these leads, I put them in, and my pitch with them is very, very simple, straight to the point. Let's say the lead comes in, they have their phone number, their email, their name, and I just call them, and there's different ways of attacking it. So I go, like I say, it's like literally I start off with my pitch, and depending on where it goes, I'll branch off to this type of way of attacking it or this type of way. So one of the biggest things I always do is, so as soon as I call them, hey, Joe, how are you doing? My name is Chris. I'm giving you a call because you recently inquired about selling your home. Now, obviously, 2 ways it can go. It can either go, yes, I'm interested in selling my home, or it can be like, no, I'm not. Now, a lot of agents always say, listen, I don't like to go off that. I like to say that, you inquired about a market analysis or real estate services. I don't like doing that because I like to go straight to the point, because if they are interested in selling a home and they were just telling me, yes, they are interested in selling their home, I save so much time from doing all these mumbo jumbo jumping through hoops, I can just go, okay, great. Well, what's a great time I can pass by your house? Are you available this week? My name's Chris, and then I'll go with my pitch with that. Now, if they tell me no, I'm not interested in selling their home. So let me just start off with buyers first and move to on to listings. I'll get back to you on that question. I'll answer all these questions towards the end. So if I call them and I say, listen, I just received an inquiry that you are interested in selling your home. If they tell me no, they're not, then I'll go ahead and switch it. It's weird. I'll before I even go with the second part of the pitch, I'll reaffirm information given to me, because a lot of times these people do request, they click on something, they request information, but now all of a sudden you're calling them, they're saying no, they're either not thinking or they're just not too sure to tell you yes. So I'll tell them, listen, okay, is this your email? Is this your address? Oh, okay, look, it says here that about 3 weeks ago you inquired about potentially selling your home. Is it possible that maybe you were just inquiring about getting a home evaluation for your home? Big thing, guys, is something I forgot to mention. When you're speaking with these sellers, I don't like using words such, well, not words, but like phrases such as CMA or comparative market analysis. Why? Us as realtors, we know what that is. If you tell a seller, hey, listen, you want a CMA? 9 out of 10 times you're gonna be like, what the hell is that? So I always try to make it simple. What is it? Simple, short, stupid. Keep it simple for them. I'm here to provide you with a market analysis. I'm here to give you with an evaluation. Is it possible you inquired about it for an evaluation of your property, of what it's worth? Keep this simple, stupid. Thank you. I'm here to, is it possible you inquired about a potential market analysis, or you want to know how much your house is worth? Is that possibly what you inquired about? You know, and 9 out of 10 times they might be like, yeah, you know what, I did inquire about that. Oh, great. Well, listen, you know, if you want, I can definitely go ahead and provide you for that, and absolutely free of charge. You know, no strings attached. Once again, that key word, no strings attached, free. You know, and then for the most part, they might come at me saying, oh, listen, you know, yeah, I am interested in that, or even sometimes we're like, hey, listen, I was interested in that, but you know what, I know more. I'll throw in the question. Hey, listen, you sure? What changed your mind? Oh no, I'm not. Are you sure? Listen, it's completely free. Like I told you, no strings attached. It's always good to know what your property's worth, especially in today's market that properties keep changing every single month. It's a different price. You know, it's always good to keep up with that. Okay, well, great. You know what? Yeah, if you want to, I am interested. Send me and then I'll go ahead. Okay, great. I already have a list of questions for them, such as, have you done any updates to the property since you've been living in it? Then I'll take notes of that. I'll ask them, how old is the roof, the electrical panel, the plumbing, if it's an old house, and so on and so forth. Once I get all that information, so listen, okay, great. Give me about 30 minutes or so, and I'll give you a call back with a number, with a range, more or less. I'll go ahead after I hang up with them. I'll do a quick little CMA on my computer. I'll get a range, and in order to entice them, you know, obviously ranges might be through all over the place, depending on what's available, what's not, what has sold. I'll give them a range as for example, I'll give them a range between, let's say, the highest price sale is 500, and the lowest price sale for the comp they're saying is about 475. I'll tell them, listen, you're anywhere between low 475 to potentially, you know, maybe 510, 515, just because of inventory and the shortage of what's going on and the high demand. You know, I always throw in that high number. Sometimes I might just say, hey, listen, it's possible that you might be able to get potentially $515,000 for your house. I leave out, and just to get that attention from them, because sometimes for the most part, they might be like, wow, I didn't expect that. And it's happened to me where someone has told me, listen, I'm not interested in selling whatsoever. Once I throw in the question of, hey, listen, is it possible that you were interested in a market analysis? They said yes. I went ahead, I did my number, and once I called them back with that number, they opened up to me. They're like, listen, you know what, yeah, I am actually interested in selling, just not right now. We're gonna need about a few months or so. I'm here doing school, finishing up with school. Once I finish up with school, I'll be ready. And then right then and there, I have a nurture phone call. If sometimes you are going to come across a person, listen, no, I'm not interested in selling. No, I'm not interested in market analysis. No, I never requested anything. No. And like I said, with those people, I'm not that type of agent that, oh, but keep fighting. Listen, no. If it gets to the point where you're just no, I don't want to waste my time. I'm just going to move on to the next. Like I say, numbers game, quality over quantity. I'm not here going to be too pushy with something, wasting valuable time on something when I could be looking for the next person. So I'll just scratch that off right away. Let me see as far as anything else. Biggest things also too is if they are interested, if they do tell you, hey, listen, I'm interested in selling. Oh well, great. Let me ask you, have you already gotten a market analysis of your property? No. Well, yes, I have. No. Well, listen. What number did more or less you get? Oh, I got this number. Oh, well, listen. Are you available sometime this upcoming day? I'll be more than happy to pass by your house. Like I said, I know you already got this number, but me and my team or me or myself, I work a little bit different. You know, every realtor is different. Everybody has their different ways of giving numbers. You know, I'm a little bit more of an aggressive realtor. I get my clients top dollar. I don't just go off of based off sales. I go off, you know, obviously curb appeal, presentability of the property. And also another thing to factor that a lot of realtors don't factor in is, you know, demand and supply in your area. And I'm looking here right now, and I see within half a mile, you have only one house for sale, which is great for you because, you know, it means that we can push the value of your house a little bit more based on the inventory that's available. So are you available maybe that I could pass by this week? I try to push for that face-to-face. And then once you get that face-to-face, you have your listing presentation, your works, and you go for it. But the idea is you don't want to, if they tell you, yes, they're interested in selling, you don't want to talk about numbers. You don't want to talk about your strategy. You want to give them some information, some spill, but you want to get that face-to-face with them, see the property, and once you do that, then you go ahead and you can talk numbers. Key point: if someone ever talks to you, hey, listen, all right, what commission do you charge? I always tell them, listen, to be quite honest with you, I don't talk about commissions over the phone. Because it's on a case by case, you know. Typical 6%, but I'm not gonna lie to you. I'm not gonna tell you to your face and say it has to be 6% because I'm flexible depending on what I have to do for your property, how much money I have to invest, the time it's gonna take me to invest the manpower, all that stuff. I'm not the typical realtor that just comes, takes pictures, puts it online, and waits for somebody to call. You know, I'm in here on a day-to-day basis with an actual strategy and an actual plan for each of the houses I sell, which makes me successful and makes me get top dollar for my clients. So based on all that is the commission that I will be charging. But I'll be honest with you, I've never had a client that has not been satisfied, that we have not been able to meet to some middle ground where it makes sense for the seller and it makes sense for myself to work together. So like I said, let me pass by the house, let me check it out, let me see what needs to be done with it, and then we can take it from there. Any questions so far about that? No, nothing.
And let me ask you a question, because I know this is more, I guess, on once the seller's deciding to list the property, but what do you normally do in a scenario where the seller is wanting to list their property, but they're not in a reasonable mindset as far as the pricing point goes? Do you normally pick up the listing to just get the listing, or do you try to get them like, hey, okay, we're gonna put the property up in the market for this price point, but if it doesn't sell or we don't see any movement within X amount, you know, you have to agree to like a price reduction at some point?
Great question. So in another market, maybe back in 2019, that's something you could do. I mean, I know some agents are very, how can I say, that they're successful in doing that. In today's market, I'll take any listing. And I was actually having a conversation with a friend of mine. What I do, just to cover your end, I always give my opinion and, hey, listen, this is what your house is worth. Now, if they're adamant, oh no, I tell them, listen, for example, I had a listing right now in Hialeah Gardens. I wanted to list at $499. I would have sold at $499 quick, within, I want to say probably 30 days for sure, I would have sold it. She was complete, and at 500, I'm talking about highest sale in that neighborhood was 475. I know I could have gotten something close to 500, if not 500. She wanted to list up at $530,000. So 0 lot line, 3-2, nothing special, 1,500 square feet in that small pocket of Hialeah Gardens that the houses are like literally right next to each other. So I think 475 or 465 was the highest sale at the time. She wants to list up at 530. We're talking about almost $100,000 difference for a single family home, 3-2, no yard, blah, blah, blah. I still took the listing. Now, my thing is, I told her, hey, listen, realistically, your house, I think we can, the highest sale is 465, 470. I feel, you know, due to demand, inventory, I feel comfortable. We know we can probably get, you know, 490, 500. We can list that for 500. Now, if they're adamant about, hey, listen, no, I don't care. I want like 530, 540, 550. I'll tell them, you know what? Okay, let's do this. It's going to be a very tough sale. I'm not going to tell you. I'm not going to tell you I'm going to sell it in a week. I'm not going to guarantee you I'm going to sell it in 30 days. I would need at least about 90 days, minimum 90 days, maybe to 6 months to potentially for a listing. I'm going to try my heart. I'm going to market it. I'm going to put it out there. And we're going to try to get you what you want, because at the end of the day, my job is to get you what you want. It's not to get you what I'm telling you to get you. But I'm letting you know, realistically, you know, at 500, it's already above what it'll appraise for, but I feel comfortable able to get it. But you want 530, my job, you know what? I'm going to put my boots on, and I'm going to try to get, and I'm going to try to get you those 530. Now, in my mind, I knew for sure I wasn't going to sell at 530. I actually got contracts at 500. But she still was like, no, 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 no. Couple things that can happen. One, like you say, after certain, maybe they're just being hard with you on right there at that moment. And after a few, maybe after 30 days, 45 days under the market, they see that no calls have been coming in, no offers, and they come down to reality and they sell where it needs to be sold at. Two, the market finally catches up to the property and it sells for what it needs to be. Three, you find a crazy buyer, which has happened to me. In Coral Gables, I listed up a property at 1.190, where the comps were at 900,000 realistically for this house. I ended up selling for 1.2 cash because a foreign person came in and offered that. Or four, and this is what I always tell people, is a marketing expense. Look at this as a marketing expense. I've had properties where I knew even in the past when it was a buyer's market, overpriced, no traction, no movement. But you know what I did? I made money off that because I picked up buyers from it. People would pass by, see my sign, call me, and I would tell them, listen, this is the price. Oh my God, it's crazy. Oh, listen, you know, what are you looking for? What is your purchase? That's when you got to make sure that as a listing agent, you can get so quick to just, oh yeah, you're talking about this house? Hey, no, it's under contract. Okay, cool, bye. Oh no, it's too high. Okay, cool, bye. No, a real person that's nonstop in this business filters out that phone. Hey, listen, are you a realtor? You buy, or are you a client? Oh no, it's for myself. Oh, listen, look, this is actually under contract. Listen, this is the price point. Oh no, it's too high. Oh, are you looking specifically in this area? Yeah, you know. What's your price point? What more or less are you approved? Are you approved for? Well, listen, I can't reach 500. I'm approved for 400, 475 max. Oh, well, great. Listen, I have tons of potential off-market properties. Like I say, I work this 24/7. Let me ask you, what criteria specifically are you looking for? Are you looking for something turnkey? Does it have to be this specific area? Are you open to other areas? I'll turn into my buyer's agent mentality, and I'll start filtering them out to see them as a buyer. And I'll try to pick them up as a buyer. And for the most part, you might be able to pick up people as a buyer, as a direct buyer. Or two, you might even pick up a listing. It's happened to me where I had an overpriced listing. Someone called about the listing. I told him, hey, listen, this is this much. And then he told me, hey, listen, well, yeah, we're trying to sell a house now, but the realtor sucks, this and that. And I ended up telling him, listen, well, let me speak to the seller. I went, spoke to the seller, and picked up a listing. Or once again, you get that listing, and you use that listing as leverage to now geo-call the neighborhood and potentially get other listings in there. So I never ever turn down a listing, just because, like I told you, it's either you're gonna sell it, the seller's gonna either eventually come down to reality, the market's gonna catch up to it, you pick up a crazy buyer, or it's a marketing expense to pick up potential other business. Anybody else got anything else? Okay, let me go real quick to the questions. Okay, so let me see. How do you typically, or we already answered that. Which dialer system would you recommend, suggest us making calls? Like I said, I use Bredex. I know I heard Vulcan is another one that's good. I don't know if anyone, someone the other day someone recently also put Espresso Agent. That's also probably good. How apart do you space up your follow-up calls for each lead? Okay, so that's a good question. Depends. So if I'm making calls, if I called you today, you didn't answer, I'm calling you tomorrow. If you don't answer tomorrow, I'm calling you the next day. I might even call you twice or 3 times a day. I sometimes do calls. If I call a lead and they don't answer, I might do a back-to-back call. I call you once, you didn't answer, I'll call you right back. And then I'll wait 10 minutes, call you again. Obviously, it's scheduling your times, make time to schedule these calls every day, and it's just consistency, calling. If I speak to them today, depending on how that thing was, if it's something where I scheduled an appointment, I'll follow up with them the day before the appointment. If it's a nurturer, like, hey, listen, I'm kind of interested in, but not right now. Listen, well, what more or less is your ideal timeline? Is there something specifically you're waiting for it to happen, such as, I have a client of mine that right now that he's waiting to figure out some stuff with the IRS, that once he gets out of that, he's ready to sell. So, I speak with him and I'm like, listen, let's do this. I'll give you a call at the end of every month, until you're ready. And then I'll just follow up with them then. Or if they give you a specific date, I'll mark that down and call them that specific date. But it all depends on the feedback you get from them. But if I call a lead and they don't answer, I'm gonna call them every single day until they answer, or until I get a, hey, yeah, I'm interested, or hey, possibly this, no, or hey, call me again and I'm gonna sue you, and then I'll take them off. Let's see. How do you keep track of the calls? I already showed you guys. Follow up boss is the best. If not, you can use that Excel sheet. Espresso Agent also has a CRM. That's good. Should new agents start off with buyers first, then move on to listings? To be honest with you, do whatever you want. I know a person that was a new agent, and he's one of my best friends, mentors, partners. A lot of you might know him, Carl Hugh. He's opening up a sister brokerage with us. He's a big time luxury agent. He started off straight into luxury. Everybody told him, you're never gonna make it, you don't come from a rich family, you don't have this, you don't have that, you don't have the experience, Don't get me wrong, it took him years, and it's not to say he didn't close $400,000 properties, 300, he did, but his main focus from the beginning has always been luxury. And look at him now, he's picking up, every other day he picks up a $2-3 million listing, like if it's a $200,000 listing. He gets listings that are 20 million, 15 million, like if it's nothing. So I tell you, start whatever you want. You don't have to start off with buyers. You can start off with sellers. I just tell you, just go all in. Like, make sure, like I said, the key things is creating a system and follow through with it and do it and execute. A lot of people talk a big game. They ask, one of the biggest things is I'm not afraid to tell an agent what I do. I'm not afraid to tell an agent what software I use. A lot of people think, oh, you're telling him this and that, now he's going to go ahead and start doing it. I'm not worried about that, because 9 out of 10 agents that I could tell what to do, they're not going to do it. They're not going to do it consistently. So I'm not worried about me losing out money because I'm giving everybody my secret sauce. So it's the biggest thing is, like I say, create a system and just stick to it. Don't worry about how many no's. Don't worry about how many people hang up on you. Don't worry about how many people tell you suck. You're nobody, you've never done nothing. If it would have been up to me, I'll never forget when I used to work at little medical centers, and I used to get late to work every day towards the end because I was unhappy there. I got my real estate. I took the course, and I was getting late to work, and people in the office there were telling me, what, you think you're going to become a realtor? You're never going to make it. There's so much competition there. You're never going to do it. You should be happy. You have a job here, this and that. You have a job with benefits, this and that. And look at me now. I mean, my first year in real estate, I made more money in that year than I did in a whole year of of working the corporate job, and I literally worked a third of what I do now. I would get to the office at 2 o'clock, 1 o'clock, leave by 4, go to happy hours all the time, and I didn't put the amount of effort that I do now, and I made more money than I did working a corporate job. So stick to it, come up with your system, stick to it, get as much education as you can, because at the end of the day, don't be cold calling is scary. You guys might, if you ever see me on the phone with a client, my agents have seen it. It sounds natural now. That comes from trial and error. I used to get on phones with sellers, even with buyers, and I would do the blah 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 blah. I would literally be like, I'll be speaking with them, and as soon as they come with a rebuttal, I'll start mumbling blah 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 blah. When I hang up, I'll get scared. I used to make calls and like just want the call to go to voicemail real quick, so I can just, in my mind, I was saying, oh, I'm making 100 calls, but in reality, I wasn't doing it with a purpose of, oh my God, I hope someone answers. I was just doing it with, oh my God, I need to get with these calls. If not, so I can say I did them. So don't worry about that. Everybody gets scared. But like I say, but get a system in play, get educated as far as, verbiage, as far as real estate, learn the process of real estate, because sometimes on these calls, you will be asked questions as far as, oh, but like, like I told you, the seller telling me, oh, I only want a cash offer. Anybody else would just be like, oh, Lily, great, I have tons of cash offers, but it takes that other agent to kind of dig in. Let me ask you, why only cash offers? You're leaving so much money on the table. Almost 70% of buyers that come are going to be financing, and believe it or not, they're going to be almost 9 out of 10 times better than that cash offer. Even if there's an appraisal contingency, maybe that buyer just finished selling a home and has $500,000 in the bank account. Right now, they're putting 20% down and they're willing to cover a difference. So, by you giving that education, you sound more professional. So get educated, pick up different scripts, but don't just read off a script. If anything, I would tell you, just have little bullet points on a piece of paper. If it's something where if there's certain questions that you want to make sure you ask, so you don't forget them, maybe have that on your thing, and then just have the conversation. And throughout that conversation, you can ask your questions. But I don't ever recommend reading through a script. For sale by owners, not Zillow or Neighbors. For sale by owners, Facebook Marketplace, Craigslist, driving around the neighborhood. I think also RedX has a part for sale by owners as well. Okay, let me see. Sorry, I wasn't sure if I got the answer about the question about the phone. You said something about Google. Oh, so Vivian, so if you have, for those of you, if you have, I would tell you, instead of getting 2 phones to call people from 2 different phones, download the Google Voice app. It's kind of like it gives you a different phone number. You can get 305 or 786 numbers from it. And I always tell people, listen, when you're calling sellers, maybe they pick up that phone call from you and everything goes great, but then all of a sudden when you're following up, they go ghost on you. Get a Google Voice number, call them from a different number. Say it's your office number, call them from a friend's number, from another agent's number, call them, text them via WhatsApp, look them up on Instagram. I try to find them out through every way possible to get in contact with them. Yes, Google Voice does allow texting as well. RedX, welcome second, Espresso Agent, get a role play partner, practice every day. Yes, role playing is also great. But there's nothing better than getting on the phone and just making those phone calls, because role playing can be cool and everything, but you want to practice with the real thing, one, so you can get the nervousness out of you, because you're going to be doing the real thing, and 2, because role playing, although it can be great, you're going to come across, for the most part, that party that you're role playing with, it's not going to give you the same type of questions or the same type of feedback as an actual person on the phone. So I'll tell you, role play is great, but definitely go ahead and just make the call and go off that. Chris, what advice you have when people get hesitant because we are less known? Have you had any pushback? I had someone weird because we aren't the Remax or Keller Williams of the world. How do you get past the stigma of the lesser known brokerages? Okay, great. So that's a great question, and that goes back to getting educated. So if I were you, one of the things, as far as when they tell you Lifestyle International, what are you? I don't heard of it. Well, sir, those of you that are on here didn't know, Lifestyle is actually the fastest growing brokerage since 2020, I think, here in South Florida. We're close to 2,000 agents. We're all the way located from as far down south as Homestead all the way up to New Jersey and New York. We're going to be opening up in Texas. So that's some type of feedback you can give back. We've been established over 6 years. And now when people tell you, for example, one of the biggest feedbacks for the most part in this market, in the typical 3 to 5 to 600,000, you don't get it. But for example, you're trying to tackle the luxury market, the Coral Gables market, you're gonna come across those sellers. Oh, well, why should I go? Who are you, and why should I list with you instead of Ashley Cusack or Dora Puig or these big names? You know, I was like, listen, by all means, those people that you just named, they're great agents. You know, I'm sure they're extremely successful. You know, they've done their part, but I'm going to tell you something, and it's something I feel with complete confidence. The only difference between me and them is that they have the power of a brand. In the sense of, what I mean by a power of a brand is that their name is established just because they've been in the business for so long, and they've farmed this area. But when it comes to quality, work ethic, and the work that needs to be put in to sell your property, I am as valuable as they are. You know, the only opportunity they have is they've had more opportunities than I have had to go ahead and establish their name. But I promise you, sir, with people such as yourself and more people in the future allowing me and giving me the opportunity to sell your home, I will eventually reach the status that they are, and I will be a well-known brand as well. You know, I am not just, you know, they have 100 listings. You know, I don't have 100 listings. But guess what? You are getting me. You're not getting an assistant. You're not getting a team member. You are getting myself to go ahead and work this every single day, make calls, do open houses. When you call this number, you're getting me on the phone. You're not getting an assistant. You're not getting a person in the office. I will treat this listing like if it is my baby, and I will give it all my undivided attention to make sure I am able to give you a smooth, successful, and top dollar transaction. So that's how I would go ahead and attack that. Okay, that's as far as the questions I got. Any other questions so far? No. Well, guys, thank you so much for taking the time to Zoom, training us today. Anytime. Thank you guys for joining in. Hope I gave you guys some good knowledge, some good feedback. I took a little bit longer than I wanted to, but I got lost with time there. But go kill it, get on the phone, guys. Like I told you, if you're not willing to come up with a follow-up process and get on it, then just stick to doing open houses or something. Don't do cold calls. But if you're willing to sacrifice and willing to put in the work and create a system and follow through with it, I promise you guys will be successful.
Can you hear me?
Yeah.
Do you have a package that me and B can call? Like, remember last time I did it?
A package?
Like the people that want to sell their house. Remember I came by probably like 4 months ago.
Oh, for the cold, when you're talking about with the cold calling trainings? Let me talk to George, see if we still have those. I don't personally have one myself, but let me talk to him, see if we still have access to that. And then if anything, I'll talk to him and see if maybe I do another, I start up those cold calling groups again, whatever, and just
let us know. We'll stop by West Gables.
Okay, sounds good. Awesome. I'll go ahead and I'll mark that down to do.
Thank you.
All right, guys. Have a wonderful week. Kill it. Get on those phone calls and go make money.
Let's do this.
Bye.